From Boca Raton, Florida, Rabbis Ephraim Goldberg, Philip Moskowitz, and Josh Brody are taking you behind the Bima. The BRS rabbis schmooze about contemporary issues and talk to special guests who give a behind-the-scenes look at how they got to where they are and what keeps them going. Welcome to Behind the Bima.
Hello, everyone. Don't worry, this will be the last week in which I'll introduce our roundup. Here is a roundup of the second 30 episodes of Behind the Bima. Enjoy.
In that meeting of the Rabbanim, one of the Rabbanim suggested that we should print out Tehillim sheets with the appropriate chapters of Tehillim that we're going to say. The suggestion had been, tell everybody to bring their own book of Tehillim, So somebody said, it's difficult. People have different editions. You're going to flip through. Not everybody can manage with that. Maybe we should just print out on a piece of paper all the Tehillim. We do this, by the way, for those, we have a connection to YU. We do this in YU all the time. Every Monday and Thursday when we have to say Tehillim, we print it out. So Reb David stopped and he kind of looked quizzically, like he couldn't understand why somebody would say that. He said, I don't understand. We're trying to increase merits for the people in Eretz Yisrael. You're going to generate hundreds of pages of shemos, which are then just going to be disposed of? I don't understand. Why would you do that? For Reb David, there was no window dressing. This is an evening we're getting together to get schusim, to get merits for Eretz Yisrael, to daven aviyah for Eretz Yisrael, and anything that detracts from that is just negative.
People did lose someone they felt they were related to, even though they weren't, or they saw in a few times, but felt like they were literally close family. He had the ability to reach out to so many people in so many ways and in so many different subject matters, and there was always something that he had to say that someone would connect to. There was always, one of the things that for me, Rabbi Sachs connected to me in so many ways, not just personally, but as a Gedolei. I feel a Gedolei Dor, of our generation. I feel like he literally managed to reach everyone. Right. The very, very rare ability to do that.
Was true. He called 1,000 times, and I called him afterwards, and I said, I told you not to call me Friday night unless it was an emergency. And I knew it wasn't an emergency because she didn't call the office, and they didn't fax me a note saying he's just been arrested or he's just been shot. I don't know what the emergency could be, but that didn't happen, and yet my phone rang. So I'm sorry I didn't answer the phone. And he said, don't be sorry, man. He says, I won $10,000 because I bet my guys that you would not pick up the phone. I've always prided myself on doing my job well and trying to have a set of ethics as a criminal defense lawyer that I think are discernible and very important. And once you lose your credibility as a criminal defense lawyer, you're really worthless and not really worth as a lawyer. And I think once you compromise yourself, then people don't come to you and don't call you.
The greatest danger to the Jewish people are not external enemies or natural disasters or wars. It's apathy, indifference, and ignorance. Those were the challenges throughout our history. If we did not overcome, we were doomed. And today we see a generation that is largely ignorant. They're even ignorant. They don't know what the Soviet Jewry movement is. The latest polls, studies show that young people today don't know what Auschwitz was, what the Holocaust was. It is only 80 years. And some of the last survivors are still alive, and yet we see the Holocaust revisionism, etc. So education is the most important thing that we start with. And the changes that we've studied in the studies we've done of young people, it's not that they turn so much against, they turn towards indifference. But indifference for us is a loss. If somebody's indifferent in an election, they just discount themselves. They don't vote for or against, they're just not part of the equation. But that's not true when it comes to support for Israel or in the other fights that we are engaged in. Part of our problem is our success. We saved Syrian Jews, we saved Ethiopian Jews, we saved Russian Jews. And those were causes that could mobilized people. It was pure. I mean, for many, I've told often Russian Jews, they saved more of our kids than we did of theirs. That so many young people came back to the community, were motivated by the examples and by the effort. And that is why I am trying now and have been pushing for years and finally seeing results to create a movement again, not an organization, not where everybody's name is and whose letterhead it's going to be on, but a movement against Jew hatred.
I just want to give people that feeling that I felt my whole life, the feeling that, whatever you're going through, there's always a hashgacha. You're always where you're supposed to be, and the Rebbe Shalom is with you. And I just had a friend just text me today. I was releasing my trailer for the upcoming Hanukkah film, and a guy said, it's so cool to see so many years later that despite what you've been through, you're doing this. And I kept saying to him, it's not despite, it's because, these challenges, these difficulties, or whatever we go through, that's what makes us into who we are. That's what makes somebody successful in today's day and age. The fact that you're relatable, the fact that you share the same interests. Then when you come and teach them Gemara, you teach them mitzvahs, you teach them whatever, halacha, they say, here's a guy who I can relate to, I can connect to. Let me hear what he has to say.
I met with a very active lady that came over to me, and she said, listen, we are the people who are working in outreach, very bothered, and it's hard for us to explain to people the fact that a mainstream Haredi publication is really eliminating women. And I told her, listen, this is the first time I hear an argument that really makes me feel that we need to do something about it. Because as long as people are coming to me and say, listen, we will boycott Mishpacha, there is some Facebook group who are trying, or the opposite. I got offer that they were trying to bring together 5,000 people to sign subscribers of Mishpacha if Mishpacha will start to put pictures of women. So I said, as long as this is a business decision, it's very easy. But we're not just about business here. We're talking about issues. And Mishpacha, as someone will present the Haredi voice and the Haredi jury, as to face this challenge and to try to understand how this is affecting or creating an image about Haredi people. So
I believe that the Almighty gave me incredible gifts. In my second grade report card, my mother called me up. She says, I'm sending you your second grade report card. I go, why are you sending me my second? First of all, could she be Jewish? She still has my second grade report card. So I said, why are you sending me my second grade report card? She goes, when you get it, open it and call me. You'll see. All right. So I get it. I open it up. My second grade report card says, Lori likes to get up in front of the class and enthrall them with her stories. Okay, it could have been like a review of my last talk in LA. So what did I learn from this? Like Hashem gives you gifts. What you do with those gifts, that's your bechira, that's your free will. I could be using it to sell you Amway products, swampland in Florida, or I could be using it to share the Almighty's wisdom.
The year is 1990. I was born.
That's good.
I think it's it's been a long time coming. There's no overnight success. It's really something that I never looked at as a job or a business, and I think my bubby will cringe when I say that because she thinks I'm allergic to money. I think it's not the fueling, it's not the momentum that keeps me going to show up every day and to spread the message of positivity and light and to infuse that with my background and with the Torah that I know and the wisdom that I pick up from incredible teachers. And so growing up, I suppose, and I did grow up Chabad, in that philosophy and in that home, which was always so open and warm. I've always been infused and taught, obviously Israel, doesn't matter what kind of titles people have and how long their beard is and what does a Jew look like. I don't know. I just, it's just all about showing up and just sharing that one mitzvah in the moment.
It's incredibly important. To me, it makes all the difference. You need to stay positive and have that positive attitude, and that's really what gets you through it. Having family and friends and community, and knowing that they stand by you and support you and they're there for you in need. that really gets you through things. I have to say that I think that having a positive attitude plays an important role in your health, both psychologically and physically. I really, really do. So, so I encourage everybody to find that sense of positivity and seek the help of your community and everyone who can be there for you. To me, and I think to my family as well, it was a matter of paying it forward and knowing that there were so many other patients out there in similar circumstances who weren't finding matches. And we had, built up such a momentum with all of these drives, testing, between 50 and 60,000 people, and helping so many people out there in similar circumstances. And there were so many more that needed help that we couldn't not do it.
People ask me, let's talk about TikTok, let's talk about which filter is best. And it's important to identify these, but the underlying issues is so much more important, because if we can inculcate a self-awareness into kids that they can utilize terms. And it's amazing when you hear an 8th or 9th grader talking about impulsivity or compulsivity when it comes to technology and be able to identify that behavior. If we give language to behaviors, then we can manage it. Then we can talk about it. Then we can make adjustments. But if there's no language, and I just give, straight rules, don't post personal information online, but I don't understand what disinhibition is. I don't understand that I'm more likely to post private personal information or images or songs, like Musical.ly or TikTok. If I don't understand how I'm more likely, I would never walk in the street and sing and dance suggestively. You wouldn't do that. But if it's online, there's disinhibition. So if I can understand disinhibition, then that will inform my behavior across the board.
From the beginning, I was always interested in something more than what I was offered. And so while it was certainly not expressed towards mysticism by any means, it was a movement for more, or ode, or something more than what was present, which I believe is the very same impulse that drives a person into kind of Panemius HaTorah. Judaism does not perceive the idea of perfection as a concept whatsoever. Even prior to the Chet of Adam HaRishon, things were imperfect. That was the injunction to protect oneself, to be guarding. The implication is that we're susceptible to failure already. Not to mention that Tzimtzum, the act of contrition and shattering of the vessels, the birthplace of human experience is brokenness.
Maybe because I was a journalist and then I became more frum, I feel it added, I feel it adds something to my career, to my life, because it's much more meaningful now. I interviewed them all, as I said, from the age of 6, but now there's a meaning and there's shlichut, there's a mission here. When we received the Torah, nobody said at Har Sinai, okay, you're modern, you're to the right, you're to the left, you're Hasidish, you're Yeshivish, now maybe it's childish, it's a childish way to describe things, but I think we need that concept. And maybe, what I discovered during our year in the States, maybe we need your format, your formula of American Haredish. I don't know, are you Haredi? No. Are you Bnei Akiva? No. Are you, it's something different.
At the end of the day, I think whatever you say, whatever you sing, whatever you do has to be with true belief and conviction. So whatever you're saying, regardless of what type of songs, whatever audience, you want to make sure that you truly believe and you convey a message, not just sing a song. I think it goes back to the humility of it's all up to Hashem. It's what's there to of course I'm proud of the things I do, and you work hard for it and you're proud. And there's a certain satisfaction when you accomplish things. And also another thing, what really keeps you going is the impact it makes.
The work I do now is just like the work that I did before, just like the work that so many people in our community do in advocating for a strong and secure Israel. I just get to do it now from the other side of the desk, and I have the benefit of then sharing whatever insight and experiences I've had with my colleagues to hopefully make them better informed, more knowledgeable, and in their own way more committed to these things that we care so deeply about.
First of all, I view את שבת שלום המדינה, ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו, bless the state of Israel, the beginning of the גאולה. I think Israel is a miracle. I think it's a divine miracle where human and Hashem have to work together. I'm a very practical person. I'm a big believer in לא עליך המלאכה לגמור ולא אתה בן חורין להיבטל ממנה, which means, you know, don't think that all the work is on you, but that doesn't release you from putting in all your effort.
So, hi, I'm Yocheved Goldberg. Maiden name was Brookstein. I'm from Lawrence, New York. And I actually did want to be a Rebbitzin. I kind of went into this knowing full well. I dated guys who were going for smicha and who wanted to be some form of a rabbi. And I was involved in Kiruv and in different organizations in high school and college, and really enjoyed doing all of those organizations and working with different populations. And, you know, I loved Kiruv and just, you know, working with people and helping. And so it was something that I really loved. I loved community work, and I'm a social worker. It was something that I also loved, to be with people and to advise and to counsel. And so this was something that I really wanted in my life.
Aside from my role here in our shul, which I absolutely love, being involved in our community, part of this great team at BRS, I do also work, I always say my other hat, as a nurse practitioner in one of the local internal medicine offices here, and I love doing that. How do I combine it? Well, I do see many patients, many local patients. I feel that I work in my office as well as in the community in the shul, really do combine what I love to do, is connect people and help people.
We moved here actually 21 years ago, and we'll be married actually 24 years next Tuesday, and we have 6 children. And I write currently, besides being the BRS, outreach Rebbitzin, I also work with Yachad, which is I help families with children with disabilities. And we used to entertain all the time, and we had programs and projects and workshops here. And when Corona hit, it got so quiet. And then we needed a way to connect with all of our people. So we initially started by a challah program. We started making multiple challahs each week and delivering challahs to our Friday Live service, Friday Live Outreach family, and to our Momentum group families, and to our Yachad families.
We met at 16 years of age. Incidentally, I do the talking, but Edith is really the boss. I just want you to know.
Like us, just like us.
Exactly. Anyhow, we met at 16. We got engaged. Edith was 19 and I was 20. We got married in 41. That was before Pearl Harbor, incidentally, and in 1943, I was called into service. Edith sent me a letter every single day, every day, because she saw what it was when we were in Mississippi, how fellows would stand waiting for the mail and get no mail, and it was so disappointing, and she felt so sorry for them.
You said,
I want you to know that one thing is that we had arguments like any normal couple, but we never, ever went to bed angry at each other.
I'm a magician, and I was also an NCAA pitcher in college. So I played baseball, and I found out that I had this crazy talent of being able to throw a ball 90 miles an hour plus. And one day, by accident, I picked up a playing card, threw it, and found out that I could throw playing cards farther, harder, and more accurate than anyone in the world, and ended up breaking some Guinness World Records. Back in 2002, I broke my first world record for the distance throw, 72 yards, so 216 feet, 4 inches. And it basically was before social media. So there's no YouTube, no Instagram. I kind of went viral with Associated Press, like the front page of the local newspaper. But it went worldwide. So it launched my career, breaking world records. I just broke another one this year. This was
wow,
for the cards thrown out of a deck of cards.
It's a numbers game, and creativity, I really believe, is a numbers game, and you should be open to that. You should realize that not every idea is a gem, but you got to come up. We just got to churn them out, and there are going to be some gems in there. And it was interesting because when I started that project, I did not think of gratitude as a very Jewish value, because my cultural Judaism, the emotions that I most thought of, were like kvetching. That was like, that's a Jewish emotion.
Guilt, complaining.
Guilt,
right?
Exactly.
Right.
But just in researching and talking to wise rabbis like you, I was enlightened that it is a tremendously Jewish emotion.
The first time I opened up a Gemara, it came to me in the mail. I had ordered it, and I opened it up and I put it on the counter. And again, I try not to be emotional, but I didn't put my eyes on it. I put my hand on the daf, and I was a good brand builder, and so in my business world, and so I had a sense. It was sensual, and so but I put my hand on the daf physically, and I felt like coming from the ground of this thing. I felt heat and light. But what do they say? Show me your friends and I'll tell you about you. But also show me your shlichut and I'll tell you about you. And so to be the rabbis of Boca Raton is lo pashut, right? It's not the obvious answer, right? It isn't. And yet it's your answer. And so the first thing anybody should say is thank you for what you do. Who you are is who you are. But what you do is a choice that you make. And it's powerful and it's brave and it's lo pashut. It's not obvious.
The story starts like most stories or many stories. We're big believers in camp, PIRKEI, camp, extracurricular. Because people go through the beautiful, functional yeshiva system. They don't get to access maybe those extra talents that they know they have. I should mention that I have 5 sisters. I have no brothers, which it seemed like a cruel fate for most of my life. But at a certain point, I started to realize, as I got older especially, that I'm able to do what I do because I grew up with people. Is it okay to say that there's a lot of talking in my house? Just talking and talking and talking and talking. And at a certain point, you can't express yourself. I appreciate that. So there was just a lot of expression and everything was being talked out. There really wasn't, there was no one to play ball with. So it just became survival of the fittest. I realized later in life that the Rebbe Shalom was giving me an opportunity. I guess it comes to mind. But there's a puzzle, and things start to fit into place, and you understand this works. Now, the last few books I did, it's so much easier because I'm writing books about people now that there's emails from and text messages from and so much video footage. Of Shlomo, I was really a little bit blind. I was, there was some audio, very, very little video footage out there. Not much. The Blazer Geltzer also. Meir Radowitz, I had emails myself from him. I knew him, and there was he documented everything. He was a very, very efficient person. He got a lot done.
Baruch Hashem, we have grown tremendously in the world of kashrus. And to be a good mashgiach today, you need to. Your day is important, but much more important maybe is engineering and chemistry and food science and of course psychology, but that's Rabbanim, you know what that's all about. But it's truly understanding how steam system works and how Bitrix works and how do you make ice cream from the bottom up to understand that they're missing a key ingredient when they tell you it's not in there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the point is that the list that the CRC decided to put together was going to be a list of knowledge and a list of science and a list of chemicals and whatnot. So when I say we start way back, is that we literally start going into the stores, we start going into the factories, we start calling on.
It was not a matter of living in an elegant home. It was not a matter of having, a high standard in life. It was, what do you do with your life? And they were, when I look back, unbelievable couple who had a tremendous respect for each other, and they really show us a sample of what we need to do in life.
You know, in Pirkei Avot, though, there's also 4 little phrases, you know, mi hu hechacham, alomed mikol adam, mi hu asher asamech bechelko, and then, of course, you know, and I just think staying with those phrases and that teaching, you know, mi hu hagibor, kovesh yitzro. I mean, if you can really follow that, and I must say my inclinations aren't always that way, but those are like breaks in my life that have helped me. And I just lucked out that I was born into our people. I think we have something so special.
Well, one thing is I've always been, you know, very proud of the community I came from. There's certain Jewish phrases that I sort of incorporate into conversation. I find that I bring into it. There are things where I try to explain the concept of Gamzu Latova, which can also be used as, you know, interpreted as a crisis. You know, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste, and adversity breeds opportunity is sort of the different version of Gamzu Latova. But there's also ones, you know, Hamevin Yavin is another favorite, because it's, I think in the world we live in, you know, from my legal background, I try to be as fact-based as possible, and from my political background, I try to be as precise about audiences. And so those sort of who need to know can be a powerful thing, and a lot of the time those who tweet don't know.
So I got to my grandfather on Thursday. It's still the war is going on, the 6-day war. Friday, they came to take my grandfather to the Kotel before they opened it up to the public, right? So my grandfather says, Binyamin, du wirst kommen mit mir. You're going to come with me. And my grandfather got out and he wanted to make a kriya. He wanted to rent his garment, his frock, because he hadn't been to the Kotel since 1948. And he tried, he couldn't do it. And I have a picture of me there with a little pocket knife that I had in my pocket. I took it out and I made a cut for him, and he rented his garment and he made a shechiyonu. The 2 shechiyonos that I remember that he used the Shema Mefurash, first when I first came as a kid, and the second time the week of the 6-day war, he was crying. He said, Baruch shechiyonu v'kimonu v'kiyonu l'zman hazeh.
And I cry, and everybody's crying, because 10 days before, everybody thinks that Israel is finished. And here you stay by the Kotel. Come to my mind, and I speak to our God, and I say, Rabbeinu Shalom, what can I give you back a thankful for this miracle? And I decided I will leave Yerushalayim for 1 year, volunteer myself 1 year to a place that they need help for the youngsters. Migdal HaEmek in this time was the worst place in Israel. Crime, drugs, all situation. Why? But this is the fact. The fact is that a soldier was ashamed to say that he lives in Migdal HaEmek. Many, you have the papers every day, but Migdal HaEmek, somebody killed, somebody this and this. I decided to go to Migdal HaEmek.
Last week, I would have never even thought that my yarmulke or my Judaism would put me in harm's way, verbally or physically. My entire life, thank God, up until that point, I never really firsthand experienced anti-Semitism. I've heard about it, and I've said the classic cliche, it can happen everywhere, it can happen to anyone. But truthfully speaking, nothing of severe magnitude where someone was physically hurt happened to anyone close nearby to me. And the fact that it happened to me is really just, yeah, it's very, scary. But never would I think that I have to, not, I hide the fact that I'm Jewish, essentially. No, I'm okay. I'm just banged up. Still, I got some headaches and everything, sore. But I saw the video, like you said, a couple times, and just a little thankful and grateful that it wasn't worse, considering what could have been, to be honest. So the fact that I was able to walk out of there and make it out, you know, in one piece, thankfully out of the hospital that night, you know, kind of presented me the opportunity to make, you know, example and bring some positive vibes to the situation, or positive impact, whatever I can do, just to prevent it from happening to someone else, or bringing awareness to anti-Semitism in general, whatever I can do.
I mean, Israel is, you know, one need not be Jewish or Israeli to have deep admiration for Israel as a success story of human resilience and ingenuity. Like, Israel is a powerful example of what can be achieved when a people come together. And I think of Israel as a profoundly progressive success story. You know, I am pro-Israel, not despite my progressive values, but because of them. You know, Israel is a sovereign state, and with sovereignty comes the right of self-defense. You know, if my neighbors and I were the target of more than 4,000 rockets, I would expect my government to defend myself, which is a right that every country, including our own, take for granted.
And this is a real human rights issue. I'm fighting for the human rights of our soldiers. And I believe that discussing human rights is also already, it's usually based on humans, not on countries, on cases of human people, humans. So if anyone has any contact, any way to approach those kind of decision makers, I don't know. In Iran, Turkey, I don't know, whoever has leverage on Hamas, it can be very, very, very helpful.
My entire desire to make it to the Olympics was, I was motivated by, you know, the desire to bring Kavod Shemayim to the world, to show that you could, you know, achieve the greatest level in sport and not compromise on what it means to be a religious Jew. And really, you know, in my mind, I thought, like, what does Hashem want from me? Hashem wants me to make it to the Olympics, right? That's Ratzon Hashem. But who am I to know what Hashem wants from me? And I recognize that when I didn't quite achieve that goal, when I failed, I said, maybe this clearly was what Hashem wanted from me in this opportunity. And I had a unique opportunity to fail in such a public way. And someone sent me this beautiful Nesivos Shalom that really just, and he told me, you know, he said, you have to teach this message to the Jewish people. And basically the Nesivos Shalom says that, you know, we talk about avodas Hashem, work. And he says, our chisaron, our disadvantage is that we think that when you work on something, you need to build something, you need to make something, you need to create something. It's about the outcome. And no. It's not about the outcome at all. It's about the yagia. It's about the effort. And the only thing that matters in this world, and it's hard to really recognize that in a world that we live in that's so physical and that's so results driven and that is all about achievement. But the only thing that Hashem really cares about from us is our yagia and our effort.
I put out another book a couple of years ago called The Joys of Intimacy, which goes to more the heart of the issue. Assuming that nobody blushes anymore, what's left to the decency in people? And what was left is the natural need for intimacy. Hopefully that'll save us. Because if we keep going the way we're going, relationships will become paper thin.
One thing that my father told me early on, it could be that I played a certain song for my father, and my father said to me, that song is way too sad. You're too young to be singing such sad songs. You're young, you need to be hopeful. So that is a very strong guiding principle for me now, since then, in choosing songs and topics and things to sing about, to try to find the positive side of things and the hopeful side of things. And a song can either be an idea that exists in my brain, and then I'll go to different composers to try to find that perfect expression of the idea. Or sometimes the song will show up in my inbox as a full, complete song ready to go.
All right. That's all, folks. Hope everyone enjoyed. And stay tuned for a very special episode this coming Wednesday, where Behind the Bima will come back bigger, better, and more awesome than ever. So on behalf of Rabbi Goldberg and the other hosts, stay happy,